So I am from the University of Bath and I'm working as a research associate, and my research is supported by Dr. Elise de and the G.EN.ESI project as well. So I'm going to start off with the really early stage stuff. What is eco-design? What am I talking about when I say eco-design within my context? And essentially it's been defined in the ISO standards as the integration of environmental aspects into product design and development with the aim of reducing the environmental impacts of products throughout their life cycle. So that's every stage from the materials through manufacture, use and end of life. And I like to use this diagram to explain what I think that really means. So it's the design process and the standard stages of the design process with environmental information and environmental considerations weaved in to help make your design decisions. So this has been an expanding field of research, and it can kind of be seen as from the early 80s and 90s, the end of pipe solutions were originally investigated through efficient production, energy efficiency, environmental product design through to environmental management systems, and this area of research has been moving increasingly from the tangible pollution type focus to the strategic management and planning and organisation of eco-design. So my research fits sort of in amongst these two areas. So there's the environmental management side of things, which looks really at corporations and industry and what they do in their internally. And then there's environmental product design, which is more externally focused. And there's lots of tools for both of these areas. And my research fits somewhere between these, and I call it kind of the management of eco-design, being the area that this fits into. So the reason I'm sort of looking at this area is because the environmental management has a lot of tools. It's very well regulated through ISO standards. There's the systematic LCAs that are quite regularly done by corporations. And there's also a wealth of tools for environmental product design, life cycle assessment, design for disassembly, design for recyclability, that have been developed by designers to help with the practical side of environmental design. And there's a bit of a gap in terms of both research and knowledge and industrial practice in terms of actually organising environmental design, and this gap between management and actual product design. And there's a whole bunch of researchers who are now sort of focusing on this area, including the G.EN.ESI project and the work that Grenoble have been doing recently, looking at sort of the management of eco-design. And my research really just adds to this area of expanding development. So the reason that this area is becoming more important is because the top-down approach tends to encourage internal focusing. So this is a Porsche factory that's very green, but their Porsches may still be their highest environmental impact, and a lot of the EMS and the ISO standards focus on internal stuff rather than the product, which is likely to be the highest impact. And the bottom-up approach, which looks more at the product design, has resulted in quite a lot of research that focuses on the application of tools and eco-design tools without focusing on the wider business context that these tools are being applied in, and that's preventing their application within industry. So the basis for a lot of my research is my industrial experience, really observing the impact of the bottom-up approach without that top-down approach meeting it. And the project that I worked on used eco-design and life cycle assessment in the development of a touring caravan. And the goals for this project was to lower the environmental impact of the product, lower the cost of operation, develop a price competitive solution, and appeal to the new market segment. So it was a really, really adventurous project with the application of eco-design tools within the design process. And it used a very typical eco-design process, a theoretically approved eco-design process, using life cycle assessment to come up with, to identify the brief and the reasons for the project, and then kind of lacing environmental issues and environmental research throughout the the research and development to create a solution that reduced the impacts of the design. And the project was relatively successful from a product design perspective. So the solution was 100 kilograms lighter than the previous. It was 5% more fuel efficient, and it was £1,000 cheaper to the customer. So the company were very happy with the product design that had been done. The solution was a streamlined functionality product for a niche market. And this was released to the market during the project, and the project was deemed to be a very good eco-design success. But I was there for 2 years working with the company as a consultant, essentially, and then when I left with my knowledge and my experience and my understanding of what had taken place intimately during the project. So what resulted was that the project had exemplified eco-design to the company, but it hadn't really taught them how to do it. So they now had an eco-designed product, but no way of really mimicking or repeating what had been achieved during this project. So essentially what kind of happened was that there was 2 product development processes going on. There was the day-to-day product development process in the company, with the management working and the production team working as they typically would do. And then there was this eco-design project happening on the sideline, and the transfer of knowledge between those two hadn't really taken place. So what I came to realise, having completed this project, was that there was the project with its structure and its goals, and then there was the company with its characteristics and its business context, and there'd been no link between those two things. And essentially the project had applied an eco-design process, the theoretically approved eco-design process, to a company that already had a design process in place, and drivers and motivations and communication systems throughout the company that already existed, and that by applying this on top of a company already working, it really forced the project to act independently from the existing system. So that sort of became the development of my hypothesis, that a better understanding of the existing business context within which eco-design is being applied could improve the outcomes of the introductory eco-design activities that we as external supporters of eco-design activities would be doing. So this is my hypothesis from my research, and I've then gone through a series of research activities to determine exactly what business context features are important for implementing eco-design. So if we are having a better understanding of the business context features to improve outcomes, then what business context features do we really need to have a good understanding of before we start conducting eco-design activities? So this came from a case study review that was done of this case study that I've just explained. I then went back to the company 2 years after the completion and conducted some retrospective interviews with them to see where knowledge had embedded and what lasting impact the project had had. And this was then considered alongside a literature review to see what other eco-design researchers were saying was necessary. And the outcome of this is what I call the company characterization process. And the idea behind this tool is that it helps the eco-design practitioners develop the eco-design plan and the eco-design activities in an introductory way. So this lists a series of internal and external business context features that were found from the case study to support or hinder, have most impact on the outcomes of eco-design. And the idea is that you create this company characterization and use that information to integrate it within your design plan, so that your design plan and your eco-design activities really reflect the reality of the situation and the business that you're entering and you're spending your time working with. And so that they complement what's already happening and create better outcomes. So that's the tool that I've developed, and that's the motivation for that development. The next stage is that we are applying this characterisation process at Faber, who are our partners within this research project, the G.EN.ESI project. And we're using this process to plan and develop the introductory eco-design activities that are taking place. Hopefully, if my hypothesis is right, we are improving the process through direct action research. This is in line with the G.EN.ESI project, so the plan for the eco-design activities will complement and focus on the development of eco-design awareness that supports the implementation of the G.EN.ESI methodology and the G.EN.ESI software tools within the project. So that is an overview of my research and my research project. Just to say, my research is part of the wider G.EN.ESI research team.